Hello, Hikaru, and hello, Mackenzel. Welcome, both of you. Hope you're both having a good afternoon's evening. And welcome, everybody, to a discussion that has been long overdue. I came back from my trip officially on about the 19th, used that time period to really recover, and took me forever to get the stuff off my phone. So sorry it took me so long. And but the good news is that we are finished. This is the only picture that I have from Japan, and we are finished. You can all move on to Shining Force 3. No, of course, I'm kidding. We have a lot more to cover than that. I have the over 200 photos specifically curated out of multiple different areas in Japan. I can't wait to show them off to everybody else and talk about it. But it is good to have you all present. I'm going to go ahead and swap over to scene number 1, where we'll go ahead and begin our journey. But just to kind of before I go fully into the pictures, I just want to kind of preface a couple of things. I streamed at 7 a.m. on Sunday playing your game. Yeah, sorry about that. I basically did it because I missed the stream and I wanted to try to make up for it. But this week has been so miserable. I've basically missed every single stream. Monday I wasn't able to make a stream because of the weather, like hailing everywhere, and the fact that I was going to be seeing my parents off. And then Tuesday we ended up having the dinner that we should have had on Monday, so I couldn't stream on Tuesday. And then today I ended up trying to finalize the stuff for the photos, and I never was able to do that until right this last minute. So yeah, sleep schedule is, I guess it's better. Yeah, because apparently I'm way past my bedtime. I don't know, I keep sleeping before everybody streams. It's driving me crazy that I'm missing everything. I'm missing Degrassi. I'm missing I don't know. I'm missing Joe's streams. It's kind of a mess. But in any event, yeah, this entire week has kind of been a wash in terms of doing like mainline stream content. We'll catch up. We'll catch up at some particular point. Last time I went to Japan, about 2010 to 2011. I can't remember exactly what year it was. But that was the last time I went to trip. It was a Tokyo to Honolulu cruise. That means there were no ports. If there were ports, I absolutely would have gone out and explored each and every single one of them. But it was basically a Tokyo to Honolulu straight shot, no stops along the way. And so that was the last time that I had really been in Japan. I was only there for like I was in Tokyo proper, and I was only there for about 7 or 8 hours. So there wasn't really a whole lot of time for me to do a whole lot of anything. Back then, the yen was super strong. One US dollar equaled 75 yen. One US dollar now, when I went to Japan in 2026, is about 155. So literally doubled my spending power compared to where it was in 2010. Kind of impressive. It is really, really interesting. Yeah, you can apparently save the streak if you watch the VOD within 24 hours. That's interesting. I didn't know that's how that worked at all. But yeah. Anyway, let's get started. The journey begins in Dallas Fort Worth. After we went from Springfield, Missouri to Dallas Fort Worth. Let me go ahead and turn on the camera. This is going to be kind of a little bit of a mess. I don't know how this is going to work because I'm going to have to like constantly resize photos. It's going to be a little bit nutty. But yeah, I went to Terminal D, which was the Admirals Club slash flagship lounge, and there's a plane on fire. Right there in the middle, outside. That's the view from the flagship lounge when you're in American Airlines. So yeah, what I think this is. I don't have any confirmation, but I'm pretty sure this is what the plane was that was on fire. I'm sure it's one of the ones that's used to train firefighters that are available in that particular airport to be able to deal with like actual emergencies. Because the way that the plane was like the specific areas where it was charred and darkened was kind of a little bit suspicious. I think if you look up like plane on fire, I think you're gonna get like lots of results and lots of people saying that they saw it for Terminal D. So I think this is like a recurrent thing that they do. But yeah, not a great way to start the trip otherwise. But anyway, the way that I flew there was from JAL. So JAL was the flight that I took, and it was from here to Tokyo. And ultimately it was about a 15-hour flight. We went business class. I can't really tell you what the ticket itself would have cost because we basically bought a regular ticket and we used points to upgrade. It was I would say a relatively it was a comfortable flight. A business class is worth it. I'll tell you my comparison because it was American going back, and it was way better to do JAL than it was to do American. For one, the business class on JAL, you do have a privacy door. You do not have any privacy door on American Airlines. So, with try with changing into the pajamas that they give you or the gown, you could do it in JAL with relative comfort without stepping out and going to the bathroom. In American Airlines, you'd have to go to the bathroom to change into all of that. But the food was good and had a pretty remarkable use of space. But I was just kind of blown away with the privacy and just kind of have like how much they could shove into one small little compartment. But the flight up was wonderful. But I did pretty miserable in the sleeping department, and so when I ultimately arrived, by the time the rush hour traffic and everything cleared and we arrived at our hotel, which was the Excel Hotel, overlooking the Shibuya Scramble. By the time we arrived there, it was too dark, so I don't have any other photos to really share of actual day one. Everything really began as of day two. Although I do have one photo in terms of the actual night, but there's that, and then I guess I also have a video later on when I guess the gas ignited or whatever they want to call it. But it did that like maybe 6 or 7 times while I was there. Any event, this is the itinerary that is off of the Crystal website. It was so our path right now is Tokyo to Shimizu, Shimizu to Kobe, Kobe to Naha, Okinawa, then to Ishigaki Ryukyu Islands, then to Keelung, Taiwan. Now, interestingly enough, I wasn't even sure we're going to be able to do the Taiwan with like everything going on with the political climates and everything else. I was thinking they were going to reroute us. I did not think. I thought we were going to be going from Ishigaki probably to Kagoshima, bypassing Keelung. We ended up thankfully and gratefully being able to go there. So I'll have some pictures from that stay when I get to that. But from Keelung to Kagoshima, Kagoshima to Kochi, and then Kochi to Tokyo, there were 3 full sea days where you were not able to actually touch on any port. That would have been Kobe to Naha, Keelung to Kagoshima, and then Kagoshima to Kobe. All of those were ones that I ended up having to that were ending up just being full sea days and really no photos to really share. When I committed arson, I committed no arson. Shockstorm, welcome. I'm doing my long-awaited discussion where I'm showing off all the photos. Although since you're on Alex's channel, I think you've seen a great majority of them, but you'll just hear me talk about them now. It hasn't. Well, I mean, it's getting pretty close. It's just like it's just one of those things where even if I were to visit Taiwan later on, there's just no guarantee it's going to really be the same. Whether like literally whether it's going to be the same or just otherwise. This is like I felt like the last time I could really like authentically visit Taiwan, given everything that's just going on in the world right now. Yes, and I've got photos and I've got stories that I'll be able to share about that in a moment. I actually had the one of the pictures of me holding the Erdrick shield and Erdrick sword at the actual end of the with the photo op. So moving on to the evening. Oops, I hit the resize button rather than the photo share button. So this was the actual first meal I had of the evening when I arrived there. So I found an area near the Shibuya crosswalk that you had to descend a flight of stairs, and you kind of had to duck when you were descending the flight of stairs, otherwise you'd kind of conk your head on the way down there. This basically this was a coriander soup curry bowl. You see, there's coriander, there's cilantro. They basically took the entire plant, because for those of you who don't know, coriander and cilantro, they come from the same plant, just different parts of it. And they basically shredded it all, put massive quantities of it in a bowl, put there's sweet potato that was in there, there's the root that was in there. It was the unironically and the best dish I had there. There's no meat in it whatsoever. It was very filling, very healthy, and 1,400 yen for the whole set, meaning I basically paid under $9 to have it. And it was extremely good. And I actually went back to that restaurant like 3 times. And even though I only stayed in Shibuya in that area for about 4 days. I ended up visiting this restaurant like 3 times. I just was pretty hooked. And the coriander dish just kept delivering over and over again. And it was just a wonderful time. And next was the following morning. So the 14th floor of the Excel Hotel, no, the 14th floor was where we stayed. I think it was about I think it might have been the 24th or the 25th floor of the Excel Hotel had the breakfast buffet. And that's basically where we ate at every single morning. And so this was our view every time we ended up trying to get set. Well, we basically got there early enough to when the buffet opened, and we were like 13th in line still. Leave it to people in Japan to queue up for everything, including breakfast. And so it is that was the view we had from our spot. This was the meal I basically was having virtually every day where I was in Japan, at least for the breakfast. So this was a chickpea and soy and curry, like curried soy food. It was very, very good. This was natto, and I had natto every single morning I was there. I don't care what people say. It is good. Yes, it's slimy. Yes, it's gross looking, but it was very, very tasty. I ended up having lots of pickled vegetables. There's kombu seaweed over here. I ended up having some fish. Ended up having a matcha muffin, and then there was some greenery tasting here. But yeah, very, very, from me, it was a very, very delicious. No, it's great. It's great. You don't know what you're talking about. It's wonderful. And then some more views from there, mountains back in the background. I went to the Shibuya 109 building, or as my mother said, the 10G building. I mean, I guess I could see that. I guess I could see how she got that. I guess you could also call it the log building if you think that that's an L at the beginning. I suppose there's a number of ways you could sound that out, but it's the 109 building. I'm not food racist. I mean, I do have food prejudices and biases, which I'll get to when I get to the because I have like very, very strict food mottos when it comes to like eating, and that kind of reared its ugly head. So this was the Shibuya 109 building, and before I get to the next one, this is up until this particular point, we were kind of at each other's throats. So this wasn't just me on the vacation; it was myself, it was my mother, it was my dad. All three of us were on vacation, and we all have completely different vacation philosophies. With me, I want to go out and explore, touch grass, do as many things as I humanly can. My mother, she wants to find a nice little shopping district and she wants to settle there and shop for like hours and hours on end. My dad is like, I want to go on vacation and relax, and anything that causes any sort of adversity is inherently not relaxing, which kind of came to a big head when it came to doing any sort of transportation. Because I was wanting to kind of learn the transportation system, especially when using the subway and all the trains and everything else. And my dad was getting increasingly worked up, so I couldn't really do a whole lot of anything. And my mother is the type of person who I speak English and I often can't understand her. She will use metaphors that don't make sense, that are very meandering. She will not use very simplified words, and she would accost multiple individuals in the Japan underground area, trying to ask them questions, and like not use simple words. And obviously, people that are there have places to be. So if it were just me there, I probably could have figured it out in like 5 to 10 minutes. But since it wasn't, we ended up having to abandon the entire plan of me being able to do any sort of underground things. So we had to settle for, since we were still, trying to travel as a family unit, I don't want to ditch them. We try to go as a family unit. And so we compromised by doing a lot of activities in Shibuya, at least towards the start before I started breaking off from them more. Because I'm just like, at some point, I'm like, this is ridiculous. Like, I can't do anything while I'm going with the rest of you. And so we ended up going to the first of the major places that we kind of went off to, which is the Shinjuku Gyoen National Garden. Basically, this place has it's 500 yen for admission, but if you're a senior, which my mother and father both were, it's 250 yen. So for those of you who want to wait like another 50 years and go there, I mean, you could there you go. Although they might raise the price by then, you never know. Or the yen can tank even more to where your U.S. dollars will go even further. You never know. But in any event, it was cherry blossom season. It was actually started about a couple of days earlier. Now, by the time we had gotten there, it had already rained quite heavily, so we were a little bit worried that we're going to be missing, like all the petals are going to be on the ground. But it's not. We never really hit that kind of adversity when we were going there. It was still very, very pretty. And I took a lot of pictures of the cherry blossoms while I was there. They had a lovely field in the middle. The thing about Japan is that a lot of the area that you see and a lot of the terrain that you see in several of the places that I've been to are quite mountainous. So the trend is there's a lot of area with mountain, and then there's a lot of area where they're trying to densely pack buildings. And so there's a lot of building up. And so when you see all of these areas where they're building up and up and up, you don't think that they're going to have, when they have parks, very spacious areas. They're going to be all condensed and packed in just like all of these areas. But this park, and honestly all of the other parks I went to, with the exception of the one at Naha, Okinawa, were pretty spacious. Like, this area was huge. I can't really do it justice with this picture because there's like another area even further out that's even bigger than this. There's a lot of area just to like picnic and set up camp and do a lot of different things. And it was very, very pretty and beautiful. This picture happens to be of the biggest tree that we found there. This is the biggest of the cherry blossoms that we saw within this garden, and you can kind of use the people here for scale. Like, it's a massive tree. It's a huge, huge tree that we ended up seeing that while we were there. This is like one of the very few pictures you're actually going to see of me within this entire reel. I took very few selfies or had people take pictures of me, but this is the one of the very few pictures I took there of myself. So that's me. Yeah, I know you can boo me all you want, but I'm right. This is the picture of my parents, and so there's my mom and there's my dad. And so she is about 73 and he's 78. They're both doing quite well. They're quite mobile. They're just not always the most spirited or adventurous and when it comes to like going to certain places. And so that's them, and they're posing under, I think, the same tree, different branch of that tree. Moving on, I took a picture of this tree because it was like a completely different color than like the one you see back here. So there's this one, very, very pink, and a lot of people were taking pictures under that one. So I kind of had to keep my distance to not really get in the way of anybody else. Another tree over here. And then there's actually several bodies of water within this park, and this was one of them. Basically, you could see this one. I kind of took the picture from this angle because this one was like basically about to dip into the water. It was like really, really a very pretty area. And then this one, this is kind of like your first hint that there's like a world outside of here. There's a city outside of here. This one building poking out is like the one hint I really had that there was like, oh yeah, there's a city out there. And there's more water over here, of course. And I hope you like water and trees and mountains. You're going to be seeing a lot of pictures of those compared to most anything else. And so this one, you could see how many petals are just falling into the water. This area, they actually had other parts of this park and so I took a picture here. Some of this area was not even in bloom yet. It just wasn't the right season for it. Considering that April is kind of like the big start of the rainy season, I'm expecting a number of these areas by May. Honestly, by pretty shortly. Considering I took these pictures around like what, April the 2nd, like April 1st. So like by now, I'm sure a lot of this stuff over here is going to be in better bloom than it was back then. This this is a picture I shared somewhere else. The park and park and park. It just reminded me of Kanye West's Life of Pablo. if you've ever seen the album cover of Life of Pablo, where it says Life of Pablo, Life of Pablo. I just took a picture of Park and Park, Park and Park, Park and Park. So yeah, that's why that's there. And so this is Udagawacho. This was near the Nintendo Tokyo store that was there. I ended up taking a picture of Phoenix Wright and Miles Edgeworth in like the pillow section. The Nintendo store, it really wasn't a whole lot else that was noteworthy. There was a Capcom pop-up store as well in the same area that they had like the Nintendo store. They had like the Bowser. They had like the trailers for like the Mario Galaxy movie because like at that time it had pretty shortly released. And this is the picture from the Excel Hotel the following morning. You could see the Shibuya scramble over here. Um, honestly, from someone who looked out of the breakfast buffet area, and for someone who looked out of the hotel quite often, I can tell you it didn't really start to get very busy until around like 8:30 or 9. Usually before that time period, you'd see like maybe people like, maybe you'd see like a handful of people here and a handful of people here. You just wouldn't see like what you'd see right here until considerably later in time. Um, there is this is Baskin Robbins with the Super Mario Galaxy ice cream promotion you can see here. I never ended up buying it. I was not adventurous enough to eat that ice cream just because I'm sure there's like all sorts of rules about like the dyes and things that can be there when it comes to Japan, but I'll stick to my matcha ice cream. Thank you. This is the menu of the place that I showed you the coriander soup curry from. As you can see, lots of vegetables in there. Really, really good food. And when I brought my mom and dad there later, he ended up having the seafood soup curry, and she ended up having the dumpling soup. And the dumplings were odd. They're not like what you'd expect in terms of the gyoza, and even in terms of the flavor profile of any dumpling I've ever had. I've never had tasted anything that tasted like it. It almost had like a cumin profile to it, but it was really good. Really good. Highly recommend eating here. I just don't remember the name of the damn place, or I'd tell you. That was a missed opportunity. I should have honestly taken some more photos of that. This is a photo of their menu, but again, it doesn't have the name. Doesn't have the name of the place on it. It's just it's useless. It's useless to all of you. More pictures from the buffet window, from the breakfast buffet window in the morning, and then next location ended up being the Meiji Jingu Shinto Shrine, still in Shibuya. So trees on either side. We ended up walking down this pathway for a while, and I ended up taking a picture here of the stream. It doesn't. I don't think it really shows very well on this particular picture here, but this is like the only one of the actual temples I went to. I was not in the mood to visit like temple after temple. I feel like I kind of get the idea once you kind of go to a couple or more than one or more. So this was the temple, and really as close as I could realistically get while still being able to take photos, because they had all sorts of rules about photos once you got to a certain point. And I did not want to be a Bakagaijin. I wanted to go ahead and follow all of the posted rules. And so this over here ended up being the Yogi Park. So Yoyogi Park in Shibuya. This ended up being basically right next to the temple. So it was like not very hard to get here. Yeah, I didn't want to save scum temples. There will be save scumming later in the actual vacation photos. Fun fact. We ended up being here, more cherry blossoms. It was actually a really well put together park. There was a dog park, and there were several divisions in the dog park within the center, depending on the size of the dog you had. So you could have certain dogs of certain sizes frolic together. There was a bird watching a part of the park where if you were a bird watcher, they would have a sign with the different types of birds that you could see there, and they just have like a little scenic area that was there. You had the track that kind of encircled the area, plentiful bathrooms. So if you bring huge containers of water, you will be covered. And I probably hit every single bathroom in that park because I drink tons and tons of water. But that we ended up seeing several different cherry blossoms at this particular area. Some people were setting up camp there as well. There were several different areas that were set up for like different floral arrangements. Some areas were still in development, so we couldn't really go down that particular area yet. Some areas were still growing. I took a picture of this because it had Labubu in it. That's like really it. There's no deeper lore. I didn't go in the building. It's just Labubu. We can move on. Anyway, so I went to another particular area. I went to Sakura Gaokacho in Shibuya, Tokyo, for a couple of reasons. Number one, there was the Kero Gunso pop-up store that was there, and number two, there ended up being the Square Enix pop-up store that ended up being there, so you could kill two birds with one stone. So you could see all of the different plushes that they ended up having here of that. I only own the Halloween one of these. It was like a promotion from like forever ago. I had it for as long as I mean, I had it when I was in law school, if not even like slightly before I went there. So we're talking like what, the 2010s, like early 2010, if not maybe even earlier than that. I ended up having it for quite some time, and but yeah, it was a really small store. We're done. Really had just a couple of plushes, and that was it. The Square Enix Garden, also pretty small, ended up having, of course, like the different vinyls, different signed things here from different individuals over here. And then they had like different plushes elsewhere. Here's the Dragon Quest section that was here. And as you can see, the plush Erdrick shields, which is kind of silly. This metal, liquid metal slime is getting ready to fall off the shelf. It's just so unshapely. It's getting ready to make its escape if you want to like commit to the lore. Um, so this is a picture. So this is basically the part of my journey where I really started to like break out from my parents. Going to the pop-up stores was like part one, but part two was me learning the subway system. Basically, what I ended up doing was like having two different tools. Number one was the Google Translate app, which is like essential. Number two was loading my wallet with Suica, which I would highly recommend doing before you even leave the country. I'm sure you could fill up while you were here. The problem with me is that when I tried to fill my wallet while I was here in North America, I got a prompt to basically my bank was trying to decline it. And so I got a text message about my bank trying to decline it. And while I was in Japan, I got no text messages. None. I don't know what the problem was. I did have Ubigi, I did have an eSIM, I did have everything else, but I got no text messages, which meant like banks couldn't check them, couldn't do any two-factor authentication that existed, could not deal with it. It was a nightmare when it came to that. So I can't imagine. I don't know if any of you will have a similar experience, but if you go to Japan, I highly recommend filling your Suica ahead of time. IC cards, generally, a number of the stores in the underground areas will take them. Vending machines are going to take them. It's pretty handy. But paper money is, of course, king. But yes, it does look like Gakushima from Goblin. I mean, it's the glass. I mean, a lot of it's the glasses. I mean, it's clearly the glasses that you have to go with. So I ended up learning the subway system. Like, it was remarkably easy once I didn't have my parents there. And so I ended up going to Akihabara. And fun fact about Akihabara, it sucks. I did not like it. I'm trying to think of how to really phrase it in a way that makes it sound like why I you know the types of people that'll have books on their shelf and you get the impression that they haven't read them, that it's just there for show to show how intelligent they are, and it's not. I never, when I walked in like any game store or any electronic store or anything that was there, I didn't like get the sense that I was like walking into like this haphazard store that really had like any sort of presentation that was like based off of any love of it. I felt like it was like extreme. It's basically an extremely commercialized retro area. I mean, there were arcades and everything else, and ultimately, I mean, there was an arcade here. I went into one arcade. There's Super Mario World. I went to Bix Camera. We'll get to Bix Camera in a moment. There was also Bix Camera near the Shibuya Scramble that I went to. basically, I was looking basically every single Dragon Quest game on the Switch was there except 10. Like whether it was online or offline, they just were not copies. So 1, 2, and 3 all packed in together. Yes. 1 and 2 HD, 3 HD, the 7 reimagined, 11S. Yeah, all of the every single one of them, the Monsters or Builders game, all of them were there except 10. 10 was the only game that consistently across every store I couldn't find a copy of. I already have a physical copy, but I was just like, I was looking out for it. But yeah, it's just, it was, I didn't enjoy really touring any of the retro game markets. It's kind of a shame. But you don't, but I'm sure none of you know anybody that'd be pretentious enough to have like a picture of their game collection in the background. But in any event, it's not even a picture. It's really my actual stuff. But in any event, but I mean, I've at least played the games that are back here. I played them. I've played this stuff. It's just I don't know. It's just kind of a weird type of performativeness that I didn't really vibe with. I feel like if I had gone there 14 years ago, I would have loved it. I feel like I wouldn't have cared. I would have just like enjoyed the heck out of it. But like I don't know. For me, I was a little bit more prickly. But I went to Bix Camera. The one in Akihabara is like the really big sensationalized one. And so this was their Dragon Quest VII reimagined kiosk area over here. There's the Switch 2 edition. There's the Switch 1 edition, which if you saw how slow the loading was of 10, which is like 3 or so years older than this, I'm sure this is going to run like garbage. So do not get the Switch edition of this. I do have the Switch edition of it. Yeah. Anyway, this is the Gunpla, part of the actual exhibit here. So you see all the Gundams and everything else over here. And then this is Yu-Gi-Oh! Card puzzles. Missed opportunity to have a Millennium puzzle. Yeah, but anyway, those, I'm sure I mean, the Dark Magician Girl was probably the most tempting of them just because it's probably the most collectible out of all of those that are up there. I mean, I guess I could do Dark Magician, but I'll tell you this, the Dark Magician seems to be less fun. I think it'd be less fun to assemble a picture of. Let's just put it that way. Um, the best video game of all time, out of one of the pretentious game stores. I mean, yeah, we've all seen it, we've all played it. It's the best. I mean, 20,000 yet. What is still? It's like what, less than $130? Like, go out and get it. It's the best. I mean, in all sincerity, I gave it a 79 score. It's like obviously there's hiccups and there's problems with it, but it flowed insanely well. I went through like what, like 7 towns and 5 dungeons in a single stream. Like it was the zaniest thing I had ever seen. And like as long as the game flows well and keeps rolling into itself, I don't care how bad it is. I mean, it was extremely playable and fun to experience. Like a banger alert with its OST though. Um, this was me. This and with that, that concluded the Shibuya part of our journey. So we were getting ready to board the ship. Fun fact about me boarding a ship: I hate food waste, which is, a cruise ship is a wonderful place to go if that's your philosophy. So here's the problem with that. So I expected to go on this ship, and with my philosophy of only picking what I want, only eating what I want to, I expected to lose weight. Here's where it went horribly wrong. Um, with part of the dining, well, even though I kind of kept to myself and did my own things while I was on the ship, and my parents did their own things, we would dine together. And my mother is the type of person that if she does not like something, she will leave the whole thing on her plate. She'll not just eat it begrudgingly. I'll eat something begrudgingly. I'll hate it, but I'll eat it. She will just leave it. And so the food waste hater in me will eat her portion because I have to. If I can't fucking leave that stuff there, I gotta eat it. I gotta take care of it. And but between that and I don't know something, but compared to the last time I went on a cruise, which was the Caribbean, which was last year, the staff were a lot pushier. I would only order a small amount of food for myself. Like I would like sometimes just skip the entree. Like, what's the point in ordering an entree if I'm gonna have to eat my damn mother's food? Like, I gotta leave a whole entire plate of food. Why should I order something? So they'd like purposely like bring items I didn't order. And this happened like 4 times. This happened 0 times for reference when I was on the cruise last time. So I would, yeah, I know. It's like I'd understand it if it's something like it's you're trying to get outside of your comfort zone and they're trying to like you're having like an omakase, you're having like some kind of a welcome meal or some kind of a like a chef's choice or just something to find bring on the table. But that wasn't it. It's just I felt like I was being shamed because I didn't want to order anything, and so I ended up gaining like 5 pounds on the trip only because mainly because I ate with my damn parents and I had pushy servers. It was a kind of a weird combination. I feel like there are some people that no matter what you do, you can't please them. I would have been pleased if they had done like freaking nothing. That would have made me happy. But between my mother and everything else, it just was kind of a food obligation. The other thing is we were at a part of the map where they I don't know what it was. I would do laps around the ship every single morning last cruise I was on. With this cruise, almost every single day, they would rope off the exits to deck 7, where you could go to walk around the ship, due to dangerous and turbulent winds. And so I was lucky to maybe have 2 days on the ship I could actually walk. It was a 13-day cruise. So I could not exercise and I was eating more. So it was not a good mix. Obviously I did a lot more walking when I was on the port, like every chance I got. Like every time I got to a port I would do whatever walking I could, but it was kind of miserable in that regard. There was entertainment, there were shows, the food was fine, but like nothing was as good as the Coriander Bowl, the best meal of the entire trip. So yeah, pretty cooped up, pretty stir crazy. Was not a happy camper. They did have a gym on ship, but like you don't want to go to a tiny cramped ship gym on like deck 13 with other people with like a tiny. I would do yoga in my room. I would walk when I was at port, and like it was basically the sea days. I would go nuts. I would go nuts because there's like there's literally no opportunity to exercise because they'd rope it off. Like there were 0 roped off days when I did the Caribbean cruise. There were like 12, 11 or 12 roped off days when I was on that ship. So pretty nutty. So we ended up boarding the Crystal. This was the Symphony. There's 2 ships. There's the Serenity and the Symphony. The Symphony is about like is 30 years old, I think. 1995, I believe. So couple of views from the ship while I boarded. There's Happy Easter, because at that particular time, they had decorations up for Easter. Missed opportunity to put Happy Easter. The cowards, they didn't commit. In any event, this was me probably around. I woke up pretty miserably because of the fact that there's a 14-hour time difference. And so I ended up being up around like 4 o'clock. This thankfully was one of the days where I could walk the deck. And so, yes, named exactly after Joey's sister. And so, our first island, as I indicated, was going to be Shimizu. And so Shimizu is the area where you're going to be able to see Mount Fuji. And so for at least from the ship, while I got to basically, as I was walking my laps, kind of see everything else kind of get closer and closer and closer. And so that's Mount Fuji. A little bit, of course, it's foggy that morning. So there's another picture of Mount Fuji, and that's one where where I took it a little later while the sun was starting to rise, and a lot more of the fog had dissipated then. There will be another picture later on that'll be even better than this, and not this one though. That's another picture, but it's not the one that's better than this. There's Mount Fuji again. Still not the picture. I keep teasing you. So this was the port that we were arriving at with Shimizu. Now, Shimizu was criminally short. Criminally short. How criminally short? Our dock arrival time to actually disembark, because you have to be cleared by the ship has to be cleared by customs and everything else before you can like off board and go on ashore. Our arrival time was about like 8 o'clock in the morning, like 8 a.m. Our departure time was like 2:15. You basically were kind and believe and remember you have to comfortably get back in time, go through customs and everything else before you're able to get back on the ship. So you don't want to arrive at like 2:10. You got to arrive early enough. So I couldn't be too adventurous because if I went too far out, I might not get back in time. So basically, what I committed, my goal for my Shimizu trip when I arrived there was, because I really couldn't commit to anything. I couldn't, like, what do you think I'm gonna be able to get to a Mount Fuji tour and come back in time? There's no way in the world. So I decided these mountains that I saw in the background, not Mount Fuji, but the mountains I saw in the background, I was going to walk right up to them, high five it, and come back. That was my simple lofty goal. So and basically, the view from the perspective from the ship was different because, like, when I went on actually ashore, it felt like it was more fogged off and distant, like it was like a couple of miles out. So I did the couple of mile walk there and a couple of mile walk back. But in any event, still the view from the ship, by the way. So I started walking. There's the train area over here. Um, and Shimizu is quite pretty. I actually really, really did enjoy it. They had a lot of people had very cute gardens outside of their windows. Very small properties. Very, very, committed to have like some kind of a garden outside to beautify themselves. There was this one little park that I did walk through, some greenery and shrubbery here. Another cherry blossom, of course, more of that. I loved this enclosure. It was really, really pretty, and there was some foot traffic, very, very few, very, very little, but there was the occasional foot traffic here. But I thought this was really, really well done. And of course, to this side, you'd see the trains that were passing by from the station that was there. This was the river that was at this particular area. This is the Ahara. In addition to like the area where the ocean is, there was also the Ahara River that I'd end up going to later. There were I didn't want to take pictures of them because it would be rude, but around this particular area, there were like three elderly gentlemen that were sitting down and just kind of chatting while being near the water. There were some birds that were nearby that were feeding the birds. Um, Fun fact, when I finished my 2 mile walk and kind of walked back through this exact same area, they were still there. So I guess I don't know if this is kind of a regular thing that they did. I didn't want to linger. I didn't want to bother them, but that's where they were. So there's the water here, and and I was getting closer to the mountains, as you can see, and another view here of the mountains, and as I cross the bridge over here, I probably should. The water you've already seen because I've shown several pictures of it, and then getting closer and closer, and again, as you can kind of see here, or maybe you can't. I don't know. But a lot of these places were very condensed and kind of built up, and they tried to have some kind of a garden, and you'd have a lot of these satellite dish extensions, which I was really kind of amused and tickled by. And this is about as realistically close as my pictures could get. I did do the high five. The problem is I didn't want to like hold up my camera and do a bunch of stuff because right by this area was like highway. And so like there was a road that behind this building over here between this and like the actual part of the mountain that I went and high fived. And so I went back a different after I went by that place, I went by this particular park on the way back to the ship. And then this was the last picture the picture I promised you of Mount Fuji. This was literally like on the way back to the port. So you basically had this view, except the fog by the time I had arrived had cleared, and so you could this is basically something you'd see on a postcard. I'm pretty proud of this one. So then we went back, and then I say we, it was just me. My parents were like, "There's nothing to, we're not gonna be able to go anywhere," and basically they're right. I did my goal for the day. So that was Shimizu. Back on the ship. Yeah, Guard of the Fuji. Yes, I did long for the mountains while I was there. So we went to Kobe. Kobe got more time and exposure than Shimizu. Kobe was actually, we were there, we had an overnight, and we were there until the following day. So if you wanted to stay out until the wee hours of the night, you absolutely could. So day one ended up, at least for me, I went out on my own. I ended up going to the Awajishima Park on the Awaji Islands. So there's several different ways to get there. Here's how I don't recommend to get there. You can get there by ferry to get to the Awaji Islands. That's fine. Don't recommend an Uber. I did kind of preview what the Uber would be like. Number one, it's going to be like over like 10,000 yen. And number two, you're going to have to be responsible for tolls because there's tolls along the way. Instead, there is public transit that runs to that park, except it runs pretty strictly like 2 times a day. That is abundantly your best bet. That is the cheapest option to probably get there if you're looking to get there. So I ended up going there, and this was the first little part of me entering this particular park. You'll see Dragon Quest Island momentarily, but as its name implies, the Awajishima Park is actually a park. So there was a park there that was in the center. For those who don't know it, Awaji Island is pretty famous for onions. And that will be apparent with one of the things I'll show you later. But the park itself was quite pretty. But this is the part I think most people might be interested in hearing me talk about. Because, we don't talk about Dragon Quest enough on this channel. I think we need to talk about it more. So Dragon Quest Island is a attraction amusement park. It's not like a roller coaster, but it's a walk-through adventure park that you go through. Now, there are parts of it you are allowed to take pictures of, and there are parts you're not. Any of the fights that you do in the park, or any of the boss fights that you do in the park, you're not allowed to take any photography of. You're not allowed to take any video of. You could take pictures of the actual buildings. You could take pictures of the scenery. You could take pictures of staff. I thought it'd be weird to take pictures of staff, but so I didn't. But you could take pictures of virtually any one of these other things. And so you can go there and do that. Yeah, Dragon Quest. And so very English friendly, by the way. For those of you who are like, I don't know if I can figure this whole thing out. There is there is relatively rudimentary English for staff. I didn't need it. There is like everything, every single monitor, every single thing does have Japanese subtitles. So if you're lost as to what to do or you're following the quest line, there is the Japanese text and English subtitles underneath. So you can always know what you're doing. Now, all of your progress. So the way that the park works, let me fetch this out for you. Come on, there we go. So this is the most important thing that you will see. So this innocuous looking medallion that you can wear around your wrist does everything. This is how you engage with the screens for different quests. This is how you engage with battles. This is how you engage with bosses. This is how you collect mini medals in the park. So everything that you can conceivably do, all of your save data, all of your progress is basically stored here. Now, I am going to talk about the attraction in a bit more detail. I was initially hesitant because the thing is, I don't want to talk about the attraction in full detail for somebody who might want to come to this attraction later and like spoil the magic and spoil like exactly what's going to happen, all of the things that go on, because like that's kind of scummy. But here's the thing. This particular theme, which was based off of Dragon Quest III with Zoma, was set to end on April 24th, which has now passed. After that, they moved on to a different campaign. So I have no qualms about spoiling what went on with the Dragon Quest III campaign, since it is now over as they've moved on with a different collaboration with the island. So the arrangements of things and all these other things are going to be considerably different. So let's dive in. This over here is the giant slime statue, which is on the outside of the actual park itself. There were several other amusement parks and attractions. Crayon Shin-chan was there. There's the Godzilla, as you could see, the National Waji Island Institute of Godzilla Disaster, or Onigod for short. More mountains in the background. Again, very mountainous island. A lot of buildings towards the very, very bottom of the shore. Virtually no beach. It's like pretty much like all like land. No real beach to speak of there. This is the view as I was approaching the second floor of the actual park. So there's a second floor to get kind of like a vantage point. So the way that it worked is like most aspiring adventurers, you start off in town. And town is where you gather information, you begin your quest. Scattered throughout your entire journey are going to be mini medals, just like you'd collect in Dragon Quest. And like I said, you take this lovely thing and you tap it, and that's how you collect the medal. Guess who was a coconutter and connected and collected all 12 medals in the park and was the only person to collect all 12 medals out of the entire individuals who did the final raid boss? So I ended up like scoring first place out of that. The reward, by the way, for getting all 12 mini medals, at least for campaign 3, I can't speak for like whatever they're going to do now, if they still even do mini medals, was additional moves that my party members learned. So I believe I ended up getting like Falcon Slash for my main characters, and like the other individuals got other things, although I mainly relied on like, it seemed like when I was doing boss fights I was mainly doing like Hatchet Man. Like I chose the warrior class, and I felt like it just felt like the right thing to do. But basically I went through and did several different quests while I was there. This was the part of the this was, and like I said, you could take pictures of any of the attraction parts here, just not the battles. This is a liquid metal slime. Quick, 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 get it. Oh, you're too late. You're too late. They're gone. It's gone. No, but in all seriousness, that's the liquid metal slime. But yeah, you got to kill it before it disappears. Although, spoiler alert, I didn't actually end up fighting it while I was there. Kind of a sad day. This is another picture. As you can see, when I did my first picture, I kind of got there pretty early. There was not really a whole lot of people in the park. By the time I took the second picture and came back from that earlier part of the quest, because you had to go back a second time into the actual village to continue, um, there's where everybody was. So, fun fact, I was making pretty good time. They kind of recommended like a 2 hour completion time. I was making really good time. I was pretty proud of myself. And like another part of the quest, oh, you need to find 3 chests to get like money to be able to purchase better equipment. No problem. I found 1 chest, and then after a little bit of difficulty, found another chest. And I'm like, I'm looking for the third one with a certain symbol. And I'm like, okay, this will be fine. 5 minutes pass. 10 minutes pass. 20 minutes pass. 30 minutes pass. I have literally circled multiple buildings multiple times. I've literally peeked into certain buildings like several different times. I've peeked under tablecloths, which I've actually found chests there. But I went to the roof. I gaslit myself. Are they wanting me to like go to this area that doesn't even look like it's decorated and look for a chest here? I went up and finally went to the roof, looked around the corner, and guess what? There wasn't a chest there either. I just kind of I baited you all. That was kind of my thinking, but like no, it wasn't there. So 50 minutes. I ended up looking around. Guess where it was? So in one of the buildings, there wasn't really a whole lot there. There was a bookshelf and some stuff with a mini medal. What you needed to note, what you needed to see, was that one of the shelves was a bit deeper sunken in than this other bookshelf. And what you needed to do was move the shelf like a secret door. You needed to find the secret door to be able to find. There was the last chest. That was the last one. And so, I spoiler alert, I did not beat the quest in 2 hours or less. It took me longer, and that chest was the entire park. So the thing, but on the other hand, it's a really engaging park. Like you really get into the spirit of like item hunting and everything else. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. And so again, this was just you can see here. There's the inn. There's the item shop. If you're needing a bird's eye view of where stuff is, there's the weapon and armor shop. And like there's a lot of different things there. And so there's the saber claw, the saber cat that was there. There's Erdrick's sword, along with the Japanese text and the English text that's on it as well, which indicates the sword is stuck fast in the stone and it won't budge. And I kind of minimized it a little bit more than I needed to. There's me, another picture of me wearing what I'm wearing now, and with the King Metal slime, not the King Metal slime, excuse me, the King slime that's there. And that was a good little selfie I took. And as I indicated, Awaji Island is famous for their onions, so they have an onion themed slime here that I ended up taking a picture of. And so the results photo here, that's a little too zoomed in for me. So this is my party that he ended up having. I had Lorton the Thief, Saiton the Mage, Noswin the Martial Artist, and then me, the Guard Warrior. And so I ended up with the Mountain Cleaver, the Triumphal Helm, Triumphal Armor, and the Tectonic Shield. So it does grade you on the number of critical hits you get, your damage, and how many mini metals you found. This number one, yep, the LinkedIn profile, yes. The LinkedIn pro, the LinkedIn profile. This number one, what it refers to is out of all of the people that were in the raid, I ended up being number one in terms of the overall stats going into the final boss. So I ended up, of course, fighting two things. I ended up fighting the Green Dragon, and I ended up fighting Zoma. I don't think that's really a shock considering it's a Dragon Quest 3 theme. It was a lot of fun. I'm not going to spoil like how the battles work. In case that part is not changed for the future quest, it may not be. You're just going to have to see how the battles work for yourself. A little bit of intrigue so you can see how that works. But so the things they grade you on are critical hits, damage dealt, and mini medals. I was first place on damage dealt and mini medals because I was the only one who collected all 12, and I dealt the most damage out of everybody because I'm like a strong ass warrior. And I was Hatchet Man, Hatchet Man, Hatchet Man. I mean, the criticals add up. I had the second most criticals out of everybody, though. I did not have like a dominating sweep. I should have gone back in the park again a second time, but no, I didn't. So my duration, instead of being sub 2 hour, was 2 hours and 28 minutes. Thanks, third chest with the symbol on it. But yeah, that was April 7th, 2026. And that was day one of Kobe. I went straight back home. So let's continue on. And then, of course, there's the picture of me that I showed at the very, very beginning. Um, and that is the photo there. You do get I did shop at the gift shop that was there. And they did give me this really cool bag that contains all that I have to contain all the contents. As far as what it contains, I do have my Dragon Quest Island hoodie. I haven't unsealed it yet because I haven't really needed to wear a hoodie in this weather. It's a kind of a just in case type of a thing. And it was a lot of fun to go there. So heavily recommend if you're ever in Kobe or ever near the Awaji Islands. But that's that. One last thing to show from the actual Awaji Islands before we move on to my other pictures. We went to Luida. I keep saying we. I guess I'm talking the royal we. I went to Luida's bar. Luida, for those of you who don't know, you may be more familiar with the name Patty. She appeared in Dragon Quest III. She ran the tavern in Aliahan, which is the starting town of the game. And so I ended up having the liquid metal slime curry. It did not run away from me. But that's the liquid metal slime approaches, and then of course you have the broth, which was this, and it was like a little bit of chicken. I mean, It was fine. The thing was, it's like you want to kind of say this food, gimmicky like attraction food was like bad. Um, it was not great. It was good. It's better than anything like you'd have like at a fast food restaurant here in like in Springfield, I would argue. It was fine for what it was. I don't know what food it was they used to simulate the bubbles here. Because you could pick up the bubble and eat it. It was almost like a dumpling kind of, but not exactly. So I don't really know what it was. And if fun fact, if you want to eat here, if you do go through the Dragon Quest Island, and you pay for a ticket there are different tiers for the tickets. I just did the I didn't do the one that had the Robin Hood. I didn't do the Robin Hood quest. That was like an add-on side quest. I could have for a little bit extra money. I probably should have splurged, but I didn't. But anyway, buying a ticket does get you 500 yen off any buying from this area. So good thing to keep in mind. Yeah, no bread, goat milk, and cheese. Yes, it was not. Anyway, moving on, and there's the picture of the bag I just showed you. So, moving on to day number 2 in Kobe. So, day number 2 in Kobe, this was Motomachidori. So, this is their little open market where you can see a lot of Kobe beef stalls. There's a lot of people grilling out in the streets and things of that particular nature. There was also an area with kind of like an enclosed overhead market. I didn't really feel very inspired by taking pictures there. So sadly I didn't really take a whole lot of pictures at this particular part. But that was like the last real thing I did in Kobe. I didn't really want to ride the bullet train anywhere because by the end of day 2, we were basically set to set sail at like 1:30, 2:30 p.m. So there's me back on the ship and heading on out and set sail. There's our sunset from the area, from the interior of the ship. And that's me as well. This was one of the days I think I was actually able to get out and get a picture of the sunset. So, picture. Now, the next day, we were in Naha, Okinawa. So that's us getting closer and closer to Naha. And that's the picture of the ship from the outside. And I was on the cruise and I kept going in and out of the Crystal Symphony. So, where I went from Naha was the Fukushima Garden. So, just to kind of type it uh, like that. That's how you'd spell it. And so basically, it was like a Chinese garden that was in Naha, Okinawa. This was by far, this was kind of what I thought it would be like to have a garden in Shibuya. I was thinking that it was going to be as cramped as it was here, but basically, it was a very pretty garden. Lots of koi that were there. They definitely crowd around the areas where people were because you could buy, I think for 100 yen, you could buy food at the entrance. The entrance fee was like 300 yen a piece, and so I put the 300 yen coin. I paid for myself, my mother and my father. We all went inside, but it was a very pretty park. Lots of koi, lots of different colored koi. I was really surprised how many different colored that and goldfish that there were in there. And there was the waterfall over here. There was a part where you could actually get up in here, and you could actually get behind the waterfall. And so I ended up doing both because I was pretty adventurous. A little tiny stream over here. I don't even know why I bothered taking a picture of it, but there it is. And then of course more water, and then more of the architecture that was here. And then this was a view from higher up. This was like that part I said was high up, like above that little waterfall. This is where I took this picture from. And then a little bit more straightened out. As you can see, if you look up at any point in the park, kind of the illusion of being in like a garden is kind of broken. You like all of these buildings are so much taller than this park. There's no trees that grow taller than than like your perspective view of it. So you get the impression that there's all these areas that yes, and then also in Naha was the picture I showed in Film Chat of the Joe Yabuki statue, and then of course this famous picture Shito no Joe, myself, and of course the M&M's mascot and Spam that was there. Of course, when I saw that, I'm like, I immediately like, I don't. I think we need to cut out. We need to take a different picture where it's just this, where it's just this. And then when Joe commented on the Spam, I'm like, that's not the only thing that was represented, and then posted that. I should have taken my shirt off. Yeah, I'm like, I don't know. I guess I could have like committed to the illusion. But like I didn't have the right, pants. I didn't have the right anything. But like, yeah, I did, for purposes of that. Plus, I mean, it was a crowded street. I didn't want to like stay there too long. So, um, this was like the prefectural building. Like I was thinking there's like some sort of like attraction, but like no, it's actually like some sort of like political building. It was like really pretty looking. Yeah, Naha. Moving on. So after we went to Naha, um, I went to Ishigaki, the Ishigaki Islands, and unfortunately, Ishigaki was pretty It was pretty Ishigaki outside, and I really couldn't really commit to a whole lot. I went there, walked along the street for a little bit, and went home. Home being back to the ship. I didn't really commit to anything. It was another one of those trips that we weren't there for very long before we were having to leave. I did my water was not really filled very well. It was too hot. I didn't commit to it. So sorry. That was the one part of the trip that I didn't really do a whole lot with. So we walked the street a little bit. We went home. Yeah. So now moving on. We uh we ended up going to, as I promised, Keelung, Taiwan. So I ended up doing a panoramic bus tour. We ended up going towards Taipei. And so I ended up trying to take a number of pictures from the bus while we were traveling. Lots and lots of trees, lots and lots of mountains along the way. This is the Keelung River as we ended up passing it. Like of course, my picture was kind of like this because kind of having to turn at a certain angle to really take the picture with my phone before it quickly zipped away. And so very very pretty. Lots and lots of different styles of buildings, like very very box shaped buildings. I noticed. Like again more mountain, more building, even more and even more over here. Although you start to see some more buildings up into the deep mountains. I wish I could have gone up there and seen what that had to offer, but again, I was in a bus, couldn't do it. So this is the 101 building, the wonderful 101 building by Platinum Games. But in all seriousness, this is a hard building to fit in a photograph. I was lucky and I managed to kind of nail the perfect picture while we were driving and approaching the building, but before we actually got outside in front of it. And so I ended up capturing a picture of the building from there, and then the statues that were out here on the front before I went there. And then I don't know what this is. It kind of looks like the spawn from Deltarune Chapter 3, but I don't know what it actually is. It's probably not that. I ended up taking a picture of that as well. I wish I could tell you more about its historical significance. I cannot. This is another picture. We're starting to approach the Chiang Kai-shek Memorial. And so we ended up getting closer, and there it is. This area is an architectural marvel because it's a very symmetrical area. It is scarily symmetrical to the point where the front and back entrances mirror themselves very, very well, to the point where it is not uncommon for people that are part of tours to get very, very lost and go to the entire other end of their tour group rather than meeting up. So when it comes to having designated meetups, they don't meet up here, they meet up somewhere else. So this was the entrance to the Chiang Kai-shek Memorial that was there. Very divisive figure. Very divisive figure in Taiwan. And Ultimately, we ended up going into the memorial. As you can tell, very, very Lincoln Memorial like. It's if you've ever been to the Lincoln Memorial, you're going to get very similar vibes from this particular room that you were in. We did happen to time our arrival pretty well. This was the view of the gardens. That again, you can see the symmetry. That's the left. That's the right. I'm just gonna go da 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 da. No, I'm not gonna commit to that. But in any event, you can see on both sides like just how mirror imaged it is from one another. And we timed it well for the changing of the guards. I had trouble emailing the full video from my phone. It would not like fit to an email, and I struggle with cloud stuff, so I don't have very much in terms of durational stuff. So what I do have is this perfectly synchronized act here. This is about as close as I could get from the steps with the changing of the guard, and that's all there is for that. There's that, Heidi fans. I took a picture of that because I had Heidi on the brain. In any event, moving on. I did wish my voice didn't break there. It would have worked out better. I thought I could like handle like 4 seconds of singing, but I couldn't. Any event. Moving on from there, we ended up going to the National Revolutionary Martyr Shrine, which was honestly, I really wish I had more time there. We ended up driving a bit more, passing more water. The famous Taipei Hotel, we ended up passing as well. I wasn't on the side of the bus where I could take a very good picture of it, though. I really wish I could. But this is the memorial, the National Revolutionary Martyr Shrine, and so we ended up going in there. And I didn't want to take a picture of any of the memorials themselves. I mean, that would have been disrespectful. But like, just a very, very beautiful area. Very, very beautiful. There's the guards that were set up at this particular spot. And I caught, by sheer luck, another changing of the guards. So we got to see the entire ceremony again from start to finish. But last time I caught it in the middle. This time we saw the entire thing from start to end. It was really, really great. And again, more gardens. There were all these plaques in the background with all of the different figures. A surprising number of women. There were lots and lots of women that were, which is like I guess in your head you think surprising given the stance of women being able to fight in like any sort of military capacity. But like there were a lot of women that were recognized in this memorial shrine. Again, I didn't take pictures. It didn't feel right. So, but in any event, we then ended up going to the Dalong Baoan Temple, which is like I hope you like the smell of incense because it was burning, burning, burning. Very interesting decorations. Like a lot of work that was done on this. Kind of zooming in here, like it's crazy. Like, the more and more you zoom in, it's like the more detailed to get. Okay, like I wish the resolution changed, but like the more and more you zoomed in, it seems like the more complicated this gets. It's actually kind of crazy. It was crazy looking at it. And like then there's the smoke from all the incense that was burning. That is, I know if you look at this for like 0.125 seconds, you'll think that's Donald Trump, but it's not. But in any event, I really kind of admired the like everything, like all of the decoration, the decor of all the places was just like really, really interesting to look at. It was very, very crazy. And yeah, and then we ended up going back. We ended up driving back. Now the next area I ended up going to was Kagoshima. At Kagoshima, I ended up going to the Kirin Peace Museum. That's where they recognize and honor the kamikaze pilots. From the over 1,000 kamikaze pilots, like 400 and I believe 39 of them came from Chiron or Kirin. I'm not exactly sure how to phonetically pronounce it, but it's a very fascinating museum. I could not take a whole lot of pictures there. There were the only areas you could take pictures of was the lobby and like the one room where there was like the salvage wreckage of one of the kamikaze planes. But it was probably one of the most impactful places I'd gone to in a while. I think a lot of people have in their heads that the individuals that are participating as kamikaze pilots, they're fanatics, they're young, they're uneducated people. They went out and got like people who don't know nothing and got like these really like uh, planes that were virtually on the verge of being decommissioned. They just shoved them in there and they shoved them off to basically fight for their country. And it really wasn't like that. Most of the people that they appropriated were individuals that were from universities, that were like studying theater, studying art, and also individuals that were um, that were being appropriated from Sheeran's. Like there was like a pilot school that was there, like a pilot's academy that was there that ended up being like reappropriated later on, like when like things were not going Japan's way in the war. That were those people were then diverted to go on to the war effort. It's fascinating though because like the entirety of the actual like these people that were going like university, they would like graduate in like 2 months. They'd be like, "Congratulations, here's your diploma," and then like they'd be like off to like fight in this war, and then they die. And the thing is that the most powerful room, like the biggest room, was just like a sea of like all of these faces of like these 400 something pilots that died, 439, I believe. Um, there's 439 from Cheer. There's like over 1,000 pilots, and like they had pictures of multiple individuals, lots and lots and lots of letters of individuals who wrote their final goodbyes. Very interesting to see what they'd. It was harrowing to see what they'd write about. One of them assured their mother that like they had, you know, I haven't gotten anyone pregnant. I don't have any gambling debts. I don't owe any money to anybody. Basically, just like, not need, there's no reason to kind of stay stuck in this point in time to just kind of move forward. And, there were translations using a kiosk to be able to read the English of some of these letters. But you have to, there were a large, there were more letters than I thought would be possible to have archived and salvaged. But, thinking on it more logically, I can't imagine anybody getting that letter from like their 17-year-old, like 17 to 20-year-old son, getting that letter and then like getting rid of it. That's like one of those things that's just going to stick around forever. And so I heavily recommend going to that museum. Had a wonderful chat with the cab driver on the way up and the way back. And like very, very great place. It rained the whole way though. It rained the whole way. This is the photo that I mentioned. The top half is the only part they were able to salvage. The bottom half was not there. This was the one room I could take a picture of, other than the lobby. And so there is the other side of that. But I recommend going through there if you're ever in Kagoshima. I heavily, heavily recommend it. So, um, just, just a, I don't know. I mean, I teared up while I was in there. Yeah, you have no idea. Just I can't, words can't do that room justice. You just have to be in it and read the words for yourself. That's just kind of the way it has to be. But there's like all sorts of things that prospectively you just don't think about. The fact that people in that, the fact that the day before their sortie would come up, like nobody in those bunks would like sleep. Like, it's not one of those things you really think about, but like, if you go to bed, when you wake up, it's the day you die. So a lot of times, like a lot of people just weren't sleeping the day before. Like they just kind of, in any event, I'm kind of going down this morbid path, but like it's something I recommend people go to. This was the stone monument at the front. It rained heavily and it rained even worse when I got out, so I really could not do anything else in Kagoshima. Criminally short time there. All I could really do was get transportation to the museum, transportation back, and call it. Sadly I could not do more than that. Um, we went. I then went to Kochi. Kochi, there were two things I went to. Number one, Kochi Castle, which is what you see here, and so there's the moat at the front area, and some lanterns along the way. This is one of the statues that I saw as I started to ascend some of the steps. I ascended quite a lot more than my mother and father, so I kind of had a limited exposure because I didn't want to like ditch them and leave them down there for like an hour while I explored, because we all kind of went together. And then I ended up taking some pictures of like the temple exterior parts here. There's the park when you got quite a lot higher. They started charging admission for like the uppermost, and I'm like, I looked at the line, and I decided I needed to go back down to where my mom and dad were. So I ended up going here, and and so you can see like the tops of some of these buildings, like we're pretty high up. We're pretty high up in Kochi. And I went up even higher in even better view. Like you can see in the top of a mountain over here. It's pretty cool. This was the tip top that I could not get to that they're starting to charge admission for, so I'm just like, yeah. So, and I'm starting to eye the time because I know that we're getting to the point where I believe Heidi is going to be being started anytime, unless we're not doing it today. I don't know. We might not be. Anyway, yeah. So the second thing, we're almost at the end of the reel, by the way. So no worries, freak out. Kochi is like one of the last destinations before we arrived back in Tokyo. So this is the Kochi Prefectural Makino Botanical Garden. Um, Hundreds, if not thousands, of species of plants here. Fun fact, I had no allergies my entire Japanese trip. When I went back to Springfield, I immediately caved. But I went through this entire park and all of these mountains, all of these cherry blossoms, and I was completely fine and decompensating when I went back. But this place was really pretty. It rained the entire time we were there, but it was extremely pretty. Lots of plants lined the areas. There were upper levels, there were lower levels, and they had like this entire wall of like different types of ferns and shrubbery in this particular area. Lots of good views of the mountains, except it was foggy because of the rain, so I couldn't get as well of a picture as I wanted to, like on this side of it, that I'm kind of indicating off to the distance. Um, there were a number of ones that you could like pick the leaves, you could smell, you could touch. There were parts of it you could, not all of them. But there were some interesting strawberries too that I saw there. I did like this water area in the center of this particular park. It was really nice at that particular area. I did do a lot more walking on some of the upper levels, while my parents kind of stayed at the lower. There were some like slippery steps and some steep inclines, but for the most part, I weathered it okay in my Hokas. It wasn't a big deal. Um, Beautiful view, just wonderful view. Um, and then of course, I started seeing some really pretty plants as I kept going. This was unbelievable. This was like, I mean, just the colors here. I snapped a photo of that, and then I went all the way up to the second level up here because I saw even more of those trees. So I'm like, I ascended like some very slippery steps to get up here. My parents were down on this lower level, and so even more of these, and like, and even and that just you could see some buildings kind of poking off in the distance, just because this park goes on for a while. It is, I think, a bit of a heftier admission. I think it's 800 yen, but like it's not a big deal. That's hardly anything, like $5. It's not a big deal. Again, more of these beauteous plants, and just and the thing was, we were early for some of these. Like, remember, this is April, and like by May, some of these things are going to be absolutely beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. But yeah, that's Makino Botanical Garden. Just more trees, more mountains, some ferns in here. There was a terrarium inside. I know we have a buffer with Joe's countdown, so even if I know I have got at least like 8 minutes, I'm fine, even if he starts to tag us. Here is Tokyo. We arrived back in Tokyo, so I decided on so Tokyo we had like one full day in port, and then the following day was my day to the airport. So this day in port, I decided we're gonna do a bullet train. At least I am. I don't know what the heck the rest of them do. So myself and my mother went. We went to take a bullet train. So for this is not the bullet train yet. We took like the Skyrail. We took one of the one. I don't know what you officially call it, but we ended up. I took a picture of several of the buildings that were there, and this is like the interior from the other side. I honestly don't know why I took a picture of this. Why did I take a picture of this? It is in my reel. It must have been important. Oh, because of the mini Statue of Liberty. This was like I only had like a 0.005 seconds to grab a picture of it. But yeah, there's the mini Statue of Liberty. Look at that. So yeah, moving on. that's why that's why I did it. Okay, so moving on. This was some more pictures from the actual window that I was there from. And sorry, I keep right clicking when I don't mean to. This is one of the buildings still on the monorail, which I think was kind of cool. I don't know why they have this little part in the middle, but it was kind of pretty. And this clock looks like I don't know what it'd be out of some kind of fantasy or persona looking thing, Shin Megami Tensei thing, like when you're fighting Norn. But that's one of the other things I took from that. And here's my ticket for Atami. Why did I pick Atami? Basically, I wanted to pick a place that wasn't too extremely far with the bullet train, but far enough for the bullet train to really start to pick up speed a little bit. Because the thing is, you could take a short bullet train ride, but like, what's the point? It's not going to go very fast. Atami was like the one area where I knew there'd be like, it's not too terrible of a time commitment, and you're going to be able to go a certain distance. So I took the ticket to Atami. I took some pictures along the way, and as the bullet train was traveling, as however whatever speed it was, um, and so here's some of the pictures as I went, and as you could see, there's some fields in this particular area, and then there's this barrier here as the transportation went. Mountains, gotta love the mountains. This is me. So this we're in Atami. Hope you like fish in Atami because there's fish everywhere. There's an entire fish market that was there, and my mother wanted a picture. There were actually a lot of people in Atami that were kind of dressed like to take picture. Like they didn't charge. Like there's some areas like for you always are leery of people that are dressed up because you're worried that they're gonna charge to take pictures. At least in this particular area they don't. I'm certain like certain European areas they would, but here you didn't have to worry about that. So this is the picture of my mom. I was boring and didn't commit to it. I didn't do the same thing. So and then there's the picture of Atami Station, and then sunset on Tokyo and my meal on the ship. So this is Umiuma. So for those who I shared some pictures of Umiuma from I think last time in 2024 and 2025. You can compare some of these. Here's what I will say of Umiuma. It's gone downhill since 2024, 2025. Sauces make or break the dish, for better or for worse. All of this was wonderful. All of this was wonderful. Like the whitefish, the yellowtail, the salmon, the wasabi, like vinaigrette reduction. All of it was so good. It was really, really tasty. This was all wonderful. I wish I had done this like 8 days ago when I still remember the dishes. I didn't. Yeah. This was another one of the plates they brought out, which I already forgot what's on it. This is the Kobe beef. And there's some other fish here, which some of you might recognize better than I do. Um, I didn't like any of this. Honestly, the sauce of the Kobe beef kind of overpowered everything else. This was their eggplant, and eh. Moving on, this was their rock shrimp. The rock shrimp was okay. There's not really a whole lot to talk about. This was, I guess, a lobster salad that my mother had. I'm allergic to lobster, so I can't eat lobster. In the sense that like my tongue will like itch up. So I don't think your tongue is supposed to do that. So I don't eat lobster. I don't have any breathing problems or anything. It's just like I get a tongue tingle that I don't think is natural. So in any event, I she didn't like it that much. This is the mushroom soup, and this is the biggest downgrade. If my umiuma ended up having like a it was served in a teapot, and it had a lot more mushrooms than it had here. It was almost like entirely mushrooms, like a little bit of broth. So going from that type of a presentation to this was kind of disappointing. The salad, honestly, its presentation was worse than what I had before, but it was actually better. I hated the mushroom salad that I had in 2024, 2025. Loved it this time. It was the sauce made it. These were like the dessert items they gave afterwards. This was kind of like almost like eating this part was like eating an almond joy. This was like a sesame cracker because this was like some coconut chocolate, and this was like a ginger cookie. So, this was like a Bailey's whiskey cappuccino type item. That is because I had their sesame ice cream before. It wasn't as good as last time. But this was good. This was good. It's not the most Japanese looking dessert you'd ever get, but it was very, very good. Thank you for the hydrate. And this was my itinerary that I woke up to in the morning, kind of detailing the entirety of my travel, the distance traveled for all of the different locations. Yeah, we were busy, busy on that trip. Anyway, zipping down and moving on, we are about to finish up. And then after that, but wait, bonus feature. So the day of the airport, our flight was until 6:30, and so I was in Narita. The airport was Narita Airport. And so I ended up taking the train to Narita because, after all, like there is a train line that runs right underneath the airport. So I rode it to Narita. And so I was in the middle of a festival that was there, and yeah, I wish they had had done the Hamtaro wave. They should have done the Hamtaro opening. They did not do it. But there were people that were playing drums, which unfortunately, because of the size limit of transferring off my phone, I cannot show you. But imagine people playing after you get through here these drums and putting on. There were multiple parts throughout this entire area where they did that, but I did that. Hit up a temple that had like some goldfish and some turtles in it, and went to this particular temple. And then this is the last picture, and we are done. That is Japan. And after that, I flew back on American and fly JAL. If you're gonna fly JAL, fly business. You can go first class for like your own like personal enclosed cabin. Personally, I don't think you need it. I do think if you're gonna fly to Japan, do business. Absolutely do business. I don't care how you have to do it, but do it. It is it is so wonderful. It's so private. Like all of the food was great. Yeah, it was very cozy, very personalized, and I enjoyed it. If you're gonna fly 14 hours, you need to have like the recline and the whole 9 yards. Okay, we are done. We are out of time. Appreciate it. Thanks everybody for stopping by. And if you have any questions beyond this, next time I stream, which will be on Saturday or any other future stream, I'd be happy to answer them. But thanks, everybody. I will see people for Haiji. Bye.